To do the mountain view assignment that we did last week. I would like to just have a video for you because I realize some of you, it's taking a little while to get used to everything, and I feel like if you have something to go back to and watch, it could be very helpful. If you've already done the mountain view assignment, no worries, just this is really for those who need it. So I'm opening remote PC because whatever I demonstrate for you, I will be demonstrating on remote PC. It just doesn't make sense for me to do it on my own computer when what I have on my computer is would be different than what you would see, and I want to make this as easy for you as possible. So using remote PC, you can see I'm logging in. I'm going to my particular computer and I'm going to let it open up. Hope everyone's having a great weekend. It's been pretty nice out. Okay. All right. So there's our little menu at the top. Since I'm on a Mac, it's necessary for me to use the Control-Alt-Delete button here at the top. So I'm going to click on that. Put in my password. Okay. So this really was an easy assignment, and if you did have some trouble with it, hopefully this video will make it a little less daunting to you. First of all, I'm going to open up Photoshop, and you'll notice that these videos may seem to take a while, and that's because I'm doing it just like you're doing it. I'm doing it, you know, using this program. Things take a little bit longer, but you will probably find that once we get into projects, you can actually complete them rather quickly, especially once you get used to what it is that we're doing. So things get easier with practice, and that's what I'm hoping you'll begin to find. That's why I've been repeating certain things like using new adjustment layers and using blending modes. I just feel that the more we do it, if we do it on a regular basis, these things will become second nature to you, and that's kind of the goal. I'm gonna get rid of this menu since I don't need it now. And so I'm going to go to PS over here, okay, because I want to make sure my welcome page opens. Okay, let's try it again. I hope you all have exciting plans for your Sunday. Okay, here we are. So the mountain view was the first assignment that we did. And you can see on my Welcome to Photoshop page, there's a variety of things here, things that we've worked on. You can see there's several variations of the mountain view that I did as demonstrations. But I'm going to do this one so that anyone who may have missed it will be able to do that assignment. So I hit Create New. Now we know that we can, by clicking this right here, we can get rid of everything in the background, but unfortunately I don't think that makes a huge difference in terms of what you see. I'm going to go to print. I'm going to select letter. I'm going to select landscape. 300 is perfect. That's why I chose print, because I wanted to have a 300 resolution, and that's PPI or DPI if we're printing. I'm leaving it at RGB because I'm working on a computer right now, and the first thing I will do with this is save it as a JPEG and put it in Google Classroom. So I don't plan to print this anytime soon, so that's why I'm leaving it at RGB. But eventually, if I do choose to print this, I will change it to CMYK. I'm going to name it. And again, we always want to start with our name. Mrs. C. I'm calling it Mountain View. As I've said, I've done a few of these, so I'm going to say version 4, okay? Because honestly, I'm not exactly sure how many versions I've done, but 4 sounds about right. So I'm going to call this version 4. The background right now is set at white. It really doesn't make any difference. So I'm going to hit create. Okay, so I was using Photoshop the other day, so really quick, I just want to go to Workspace. I want to go to Reset Essentials. And again, this is something I do every time I get started on the computer, because it helps me make sure I'm working with the right tools. I will go ahead and switch this now to double. Typically you should be able to kind of stretch these things over. They don't seem to work using remote PC, but I can at least take up more of the screen here. Whoops. Yeah, you may have found that this happens to you too, where you try to drag something and then it drags back and forth. I've noticed that happens very frequently as well. So I'm gonna just kind of click off the page. There we go. It seems like it's holding. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to make this any bigger. All right, so again, I go to Window, Workspace. I need to reset this because as I tried to make that screen bigger, I lost my tools over there. All right, I would like to see a little better, so I'm going to put fit to screen. Now it's using up the whole screen and I can see what I have. All right, I need one photograph for this, okay? And so I will go to File, I will go to Open, I'm going to go to the V drive. It's always just best to start at the V drive. Always look for PAMC Cook. As for me, it really doesn't matter if I pick block 1 or block 2 because I've kind of made a point of putting pictures in both. The mountain view photo is here. You all have this mountain view photo in your folders. So if you go to your folder that says pictures, you will see that mountain view photo. Okay, so I have I clicked that. You can see the spinning and there's the photo. Now there's lots of ways to get this photo to my work. One of the ways that I showed you in class was to create a marquee, rectangular marquee, and go around this. In this video, I'm going to show you an even quicker way. And that quicker way is just to go to your Move tool, left click on your mouse, drag. I didn't even put a marquee tool around it. Go up to your workspace, which mine is called Mrs. C Mountain View. Drag it back down, let go, and there's my picture. Okay. Now I'm going to zoom out slightly because I want to see the entire thing. I still have the Move tool selected, so I'm going to push it up into the corner there. Now you can see that I have just a small amount of space here, and I want to have 4 of these. My goal is to copy this 3 times so that I have 4 variations of this mountain view. So this mountain is going to have to be a lot smaller than it currently is. So what I will do is, while I have it clicked, and you can see right there, layer 1, that is what is highlighted right now. If you go up to Edit, and you click on Transform, and you click on Scale, you're going to be able to just grab the corner here on this bounding box, and you're going to push it inward. And that looks like a good size to me. We're not being completely exact, but that looks like a good size to me. That looks like it's 1/4. And since I think that that's probably going to work, I'm going to go up to the check mark here, and I'm going to click check. The next thing I want to do is, while this is still highlighted, and you can see it's dark here, which tells me that that's what's highlighted, I'm going to go to Edit again. I'm going to go to Copy. I'm going to go to Edit, and I'm going to go to Paste. And so now I have a second version of this. So I'm going to move it up. And when I do that, I can see that maybe they're just a little too big. So since I'm still in the editing stages of this, I can go to Transform, I can go to Scale again, bring this one in slightly, maybe I'll bring it to about there. I'll go back to this picture, and just by clicking on it, you can see how the layer moves down. So now I'm on that one. I can go to Edit again. Am I on Edit? Yes. I can go to Transform. I can go to Scale, and once again I can bring it up so that it's the same size as the other one. Okay, and there's a little bit of white space in between, and that works for me because I want to have a tiny bit of white space there, so I might actually scale this a tad more so that these match up perfectly. And I like the white space because now it kind of creates a frame or a border. And then of course the check mark is what's going to commit that. So now I have my 2 pictures. Now the one thing I would like to do is I would like to flip this one. I want this to appear symmetrical. So if I click on my right top corner mountain, and I go to Edit, and I go to Transform, and then I go to Flip Horizontal. Now the pictures are sort of facing each other, and it just has a more attractive look to it. But I need 2 more pictures. So for this one, I'll click on it, I'll go to Edit, I'll go to Copy, I'll go to Edit, I'll go to Paste, and I will set it right below. And if I want to leave that little bit of white space there, whoops, do I want to leave? I do. So I leave a little bit of white space there, and then if I do the same thing with this one, I click on it, I hit Edit, I hit Copy, I hit Edit, I hit Paste. There it is. It's already flipped because I flipped it in the first one, and I simply move it into place. Okay, so now I have my 4 photos. You can see them labeled. Layer 1, they're kind of out of order. It says layer 3. I can shift the order just by moving 2 down. So now it says 1, 2, 3, and 4. it really doesn't make any difference which is which. They're all a mountain. The other thing I want to do is I want to crop this whole picture. I have all of this white showing up here, and I want to get rid of it. So if I hit my crop button in the tools menu, I can just slide right up and stop. I can check. I might take it up just a tad more because there's a tiny bit of white space showing there, and I can be a perfectionist when it comes to things like that. Okay, so we have 4 pictures now, and they all look the same, and now we're going to use new adjustment layers to do some cool things to them. So I'm going to start with my layer 1, and first thing I need to do is unclick my crop tool. I'm not using crop tool anymore. Alright, so there's layer 1, which should be this one, yes. Okay. You're going to go to layer. You're going to go to new adjustment layer. And what we're going to do is we're going to do some experimenting. Now, the very first thing that is of most importance is that when you get this little menu that says new layer, you have to click use previous layer to create clipping mask. If you don't click that, then whatever you do is going to happen to all 4 of these pictures. And our goal is to make all 4 of these pictures different. So you must click that every time. Use previous layer to create clipping mask. So I'm going to hit OK. And now you see this pop-up menu, and this has the properties for what I've just selected, and what I just selected was brightness and contrast. So I'm going to zoom in on that picture so that you can see it a little closer. So if you want to zoom in, now again, if we were working on a computer that actually had these programs on it, we would be able to use shortcuts. I'm not able to use shortcuts using remote PC, and I'm assuming you can't either. I've asked you guys, and I get the feeling that you guys can't either. So it's not really a big deal because we have our menu bar up here, and anything we need to do is going to be right up here. So I want to zoom in. I'm going to zoom in one more time, and I'm trying to focus on just this picture, okay? If ever you need to like shift everything without really moving, this little hand tool can let you move this whole picture around, and it won't actually move the pictures themselves. So that hand tool allows me to move things around. Alright, so now I'm focused on this one picture because this is the one I'm changing. And as I was working with brightness before, and you can see what happens when I increase the level of brightness. You can see what happens when I decrease the level of brightness. Contrast, same thing. You can see how we get a lot of contrast when we increase it, and when you don't, it sort of takes on a dull look. I prefer the high contrast appearance, so I'm gonna probably leave it at that for now. Let me get my menus back up there. I really just want to see my layers menu. Okay, so there's my layers. And I'm going to move it over slightly. All right, so I've done one thing to it, but that doesn't mean I'm finished. So I'm going to go back to the move tool, click on it, make sure I still have this picture selected. I'm going to go to layer, I'm going to go to new adjustment layer, and each one of these does something, okay? And I can go through every single one of these, although there is a written handout in Google Classroom that kind of shows you all of the different things that each of these things does. If you were to click levels, is based on lights and darks, and it kind of shows you the balance of the lights and darks in your photograph. And you can see this is very, very level. Like there's a little bit of extreme here at the end, and but not much. So if I want to bring those colors sort of closer together so that I don't have such extreme darks and lights, I can bring in the shadows, I can bring in the highlights, and I'm getting less variety in the lights and the darks. So that's what happens when I work with levels. If you like having a wide range of lights and darks, you can do that, but you can also change your midtones. And this right here is your midtones. And if you want to have more lights, then you would change your midtones to the left. If you wanted more darks, you would change your midtones to the right. So a lot of things can happen using levels. It just sort of depends on what you like. And I like that extremeness right there. I think, do I want more lights to this? I'm gonna do something like that. And then I will just click this little button, and now that menu is gone. And I have now changed the brightness and contrast to this picture. If I go back to new adjustment layer, I think for now, I'm just gonna leave that one as it is, okay? I've made changes to it. You can fit the whole thing on the screen again, and you can see the difference between this picture and the other three, which are as they were originally. So now I'm going to move on to this picture, okay? And this is considered my layer 2. Again, I want to zoom in on it so that I can see exactly what's happening to that picture. And if I click on the hand, I can slide it so that it alone is in the screen. I'm going to go to layer. I'm going to go to new adjustment layer, and what we worked with brightness contrast before. Now we're going to work with exposure, and right now it's set at a default. Let's see what happens when we increase the exposure. Okay, this is when we decrease the exposure, it looks like that. Offset, we sort of lose a lot of contrast. Gamma correction, okay, and gamma deals with light. You get some interesting effects to this, okay, when you work with your exposure, and you can test different things. What I do want you to understand, though, is if you do make some corrections, and let's just say this is what I ended up doing, okay? And then I closed it out, and then I looked at it, and I'm like, do I really like it? Let me zoom out a little bit to see. Do I like that particular effect? It's a little dark, and maybe I don't like it. If I don't like it, I can go to that exposure setting right above layer 2. I can click on it, left click with my mouse, drag it to the trash can, let go. It says delete layer mask, it's asking, and I say yes. And the exposure, I can delete that as well. So you're never stuck with anything. That's why layer masks are so nice, because you can put something on and you can take it off, and it's not really a big deal. You're never stuck with anything if you don't like it. Maybe you want to see what your picture would look like black and white. Again, make sure you use previous layer to create your mask, and there's your picture in black and white. And let's get some of these things out of the way. And so I personally would rather not see black and white, at least not for this particular assignment. So I'm just going to delete that. I'm going to toss that in the trash can. There we go. But we do need to make some change to this. So let's see what we can actually do that's going to make a decent change. Hue saturation is always a very cool way to make changes because you can change the entire color scheme. Right now it's set on master, so as I switch these, it's going to just switch the colors based on, whoops, let me slide this out of the way. I'm going to move it over here so it won't be blocking what we're looking at. If I set it way over here, you can see how the colors change. That is very cool. I kind of like that, so I think I'll leave that. And so I will just get rid of this menu. I'm not getting rid of my layers menu. I want my layers menu to stay there, but they are small. Whoops, if I click on it, it opens up again. But again, I like to get it kind of out of the way. All right, so I like that. I think that's very cool. All right, so now I'm ready to move on. Oops, I have to click the move tool to actually get to the next picture. If I click on the picture, you can see now that layer 3 has turned gray, and that's because that's the one I'm about to work with. So again, I go to layer adjustment or layer, and then I go to new adjustment layer. What are some things I haven't done? Invert is always very cool. Sometimes it's too much, and sometimes it's just right. I think that's a cool effect when you use invert. Now, I don't always like what I see when I use invert. Sometimes invert can make things very dark, and I don't necessarily like it. But in this case, I do. I think those colors are very unique and creative, so I can stick with those. And then I'm going to click on my last picture. You now see layer 4 has lit up. When I go to layer, new adjustment layer, there are a variety of things here I still haven't tried. Posterize can be a unique tool to use. You can see that as soon as I clicked posterize, now it doesn't even look like a photograph anymore. It does look like a poster, and you can adjust the levels. It is currently set at 4 levels. If you increase the levels, it looks less like a poster, okay? The lower the levels, the lower the number of colors that are being used. And if you think of an actual poster, you know that an actual poster isn't going to have a lot of colors to it. If you were going to the print shop, you know, there might be so many colors that they would put into it. So I'm trying to find that perfect number of colors for this poster. That's too few. I had one and I kind of lost it. I sort of like that, okay? Now I can also change the colors on this. Maybe those colors aren't exactly what I want them to be, so I can do another adjustment layer on it, and that's where I could possibly go to Hue Saturation again. Again, I'm going to click Use Previous Layer to create clipping mask. Whoops, lost it. Let me bring that back. Right, I accidentally clicked it off, so let me get it back up there. Hue Saturation, okay. So again, we changed our colors here to like purples and just some really unique colors. And so maybe this time I would want to see what it looks like if I move in a different direction. You know, here my sky is kind of gold and my water is like a red-orange and my trees are violet. Kind of interesting. What happens with saturation? If I adjust the saturation, it starts to take on a very dull look. If I increase the saturation, those colors become even more intense. Okay? Lightness and darkness. We kind of know what's going to happen with lightness and darkness. All right, this is definitely a unique look, but because my goal is to show you what these things do, I'm going to leave it with those types of colors. Now, the one thing I have not shown you how to do yet is how to use blending modes. So I'm going to kind of expand my layers menu here so that you can see it. And I'm going to take my little hand and I'm going to just kind of zoom in on some of these pictures so that we can see what we're doing. Get rid of that. All right, so layer 1. I'm going to click on layer 1. I'm looking at this picture right now. Right above your layers menu, you see this word normal. Well, that's normal. But if you start to scroll down, you will begin to see different things happening. With some of these, some of these blending modes. Okay, some of them are turning white, and that's kind of not typical of what we find. I'm going to go to my history, and I'm going to delete that. Okay, so again, I have this layer on, and I can change things. Multiply usually creates a certain effect. I'm not seeing the effects happening with all of these right now, and it's probably because it's a single picture. But you can see that with some of them there are changes, and you might like those changes. You know, perhaps you like that, or perhaps you like that. That of course looks a lot like our invert. So for this, I'm probably going to leave it normal because I don't think I saw any changes that I necessarily liked. Now when I go to my next layer, which should be, make sure I have the right picture selected, layer 2. So this is layer 2. And once again, if I go to blending modes and I scroll through these, there should be a few changes. So you see with the darker color, that is slightly different. Okay, hard light, you see a definite difference. Vivid light, I don't see much. Linear light, I do see a difference. That's pretty unique to me. I like that linear light. That is completely different. And sometimes, like I said, you don't even know what you're going to get. I'm going to go with this hard light. I think that's a unique appearance to this photograph, and my goal is to create some unique looks to what I'm doing. So I'm going to keep that. My next picture is this one. Okay, and once again, just zoom in. Once again, I'll take my little hand here and I'll move it right there. Okay, and I have my layer 3 shadowed, so I know that I'm on the right layer. And one more time, I'm going to see what happens when I play with some of these blending modes. Oops, didn't mean to click that. And blending modes work especially well when you have more than one picture. And so right now we're not getting a lot of options, so definitely don't want to keep that. So I'm going to go back to normal with that one. Let's see if we get any changes to our last picture, even though I do like our last picture as it is. So layer 4 is here, and let's just see. There, we get a little bit of change with linear light, vivid light, pin light. We get a lot of difference with difference. In fact, it's almost completely different than what we had before. So we have this, or we have our normal, which looked like this. And if I zoom out again, you know, you make those decisions. The idea here is to experiment. This whole project is about experimenting. And so what you come up with is fine with me. I don't care how these look when they're done. I simply want you to have the opportunity to bring your photo in, to copy it 3 times, to flip it so that you have that symmetrical look, to continue to go to the layers menu and use these new adjustment layers, to test them out. When you don't like something, throw it in the trash can. There's the trash can. See what happens when you use blending modes, okay, for various pictures. Sometimes it's something you're gonna like, and sometimes it's not. And I might just, what I do is I actually liked it normal. I might try this one, because that one to me seems a little too not normal. Yeah, I was really hoping I could get some better results with that first one. But in any case, I'm going to leave my design just like this. It is complete. I'm going to hit save. Okay. I'm going to make sure I save it in the right place. And the right place is going to be Mrs. Cook, My Assignments, and I've called it Mountain View version 4. I'm going to save it there. I'm also going to save it as a JPEG. I'm going to hit File. I'm going to go to Save As. Only difference is where it says Photoshop, Save As Type. I'm going to change it to a JPEG. Okay, so now it's a JPEG, and I'm going to hit Save. I'm going to leave it at maximum. I'm going to hit OK. And now my work is done. I can close myself out of Photoshop, assuming there's nothing else I want to work on in Photoshop. And then go to Google Classroom and upload that picture for the Mountain View assignment. Okay, so if you have any questions, ask me in class. Have a great day, guys.